Hi, everybody. My name is Lance Morcell. I'm the city's Economic Development Director. Thank you all for joining today, and I'll let Mayor Geierman introduce himself.
Thank you all for coming. I'm Doraville Mayor Joseph Geierman. I'm very pleased to welcome you to this business forum being hosted by the City of Doraville. We have representatives from a diverse range of Doraville businesses who are participating here today. I would like to recognize our City Manager, Chris Eldridge, and Council members Steffi Kuntz, Maria Alexander, Rebecca Cohen-Morris, Chris Henshaw, Gerald Evans, and Andy Yeoman. I'm also extremely honored to welcome Senator John Ossoff and his team. This is a very important forum. We only have a limited amount of time with the Senator. So without further ado, I am going to turn off my camera and let Lance Morcell, our Economic Development Director, serve as MC. Here you go, Lance.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, everybody, for joining. Just wanted to, thank you again for taking the time out of your day. I know as business owners, it's it's always busy, and just taking the time to do this. Waiting for the Senator to join. We can start taking a few questions. There he is, the man of the hour.
Hey, now, how you doing, Lance? Sorry, I'm a couple minutes late.
No worries. Thank you, Senator. Lance Morcell, I'm the city's Economic Development Director, and just did some introductions with our mayor and city manager. But thanks for coming, and we can start rolling down through the agenda.
Excellent. My pleasure. Glad to be here. Thanks for the invitation.
Of course. Thank you for taking the time out of your, what I'm sure is an extremely busy schedule.
My pleasure.
So, general rule of thumb to our audience members, we have a few business owners that are going to speak about their pandemic experience to the Senator, and we'll go through some pre-submitted questions and then hopefully have some time to open it up to a little bit of open forum Q&A questions before the Senator has to log off. As we said, he's a very busy person, so we just have to be cognizant of some of the time constraints that we have. So, thank you. So among the first people that we're going to have speak is Mr. Park. I believe he should be on the line. All right, so next who I see in the audience that's going to speak about their pandemic experience as a small business owner is Mr. John Kim, owner of Pioneer Apparel. So I'm going to bring him in as a panelist.
And Mr. Kim, if you can unmute, and if you have a camera, turn it on. We'd love to hear your story.
Okay. All right.
Mr. Kim.
Mr. Kim, I believe you're still muted. There we go.
Okay, can y'all hear me now?
Yes, loud and clear.
I'm sorry, I can't hear you. So can you nod if you can hear me? Okay, great. I'll just go and get, I don't know what's wrong with my audio. So hello, my name is John Kim. First, I'd like to thank Mayor Geierman and Senator Ossoff for providing this forum to share our different experiences with COVID. My family and I own Pioneer Apparel, which is a wholesale distributor of clothing to retail stores across the country. Our customers range in size from individual online entrepreneurs with no physical presence, all the way to large national chains. COVID-19 has been a real eye-opener for us in terms of exposing our vulnerabilities, as well as shedding light on our business advantages. Last spring, we were all caught off guard by the aggressive nature of this disease. The lack of clear guidelines and rampant fear in the population led to mass shutdowns of malls and other retail spaces throughout the country. We were extremely concerned about our short-term future. Fortunately, we were able to continue our operations, albeit at a dramatically reduced capacity. However, despite the mass closures, we were able to sustain ourselves because of two main factors. First, through the perseverance of small independent mom and pop stores that were able to actually maximize this opportunity of decreased competition. They found inventive ways to keep their business and in turn our business afloat. And second, because we had made significant investments in technology the previous year to web enable our business and be more accessible through social media. This allowed us to continue operations and observe safety protocols while avoiding physical contact with customers. Then, of course, the government was able to quickly pass the CARES Act, which had a quick and dramatically positive impact on our business. And once the malls and chains opened up, it was like the floodgates had opened. So since last summer, our business has operated at a swift pace. The various stimulus packages and aid programs have undeniably helped the retail sector. But we all know that these are just temporary measures. The government cannot artificially prop up the economy indefinitely, no matter how creative we get in finding ways to help one another. The only permanent solution is to get people vaccinated and get this disease under control. Now, I've read that a significant percentage of the population is hesitant or scared to get inoculated, which is very discouraging. Perhaps the government can use some of the stimulus funds to financially incentivize people to receive the vaccine like they do with employees such as at Kroger or Target, Trader Joe's. And I mean, who doesn't love to get a tax credit for no effort? You know, whatever the answer may be, it must be as aggressive and determined as COVID itself, so we can all get back to normal. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Kim.
Sure thing.
Right, next up, let's see. We have Miss Ching, who owns.
And Lance, you may want to recycle your video. Your audio is coming through fine, but your video is actually frozen.
Gotcha. Thank you, Senator. We're going to have next is Miss Ching, who owns Yin Ching. I'm going to promote her as a panelist, and she will speak about her COVID-19 experience as well. All right, Miss Ching, there we are.
Hello, ma'am. Nice to meet you.
Hi, nice meeting you again. Greetings everyone, and thank you very much for having me here. So my name is Qing Xia. My family has a Chinese restaurant on Beaufort Highway called Yanjing. Just like any other immigrants, we came to the United States with, basically nothing, work hard to own a business for the American dream. So Yanjing has been around for 30 years. Majority of the customers are like long-time friends who comes all the time. So when COVID happened last year, we really didn't know what to expect. It was new to everyone. Were we prepared for it? Probably not. I don't think anybody was prepared for it. Therefore, everything hit us really fast, and we had to act fast. So many going back and forth from CDC guidelines that weren't really clear, and that not only confused the general population, but for the restaurant owners as well. I recall joining the email for the CAB Board of Health to make sure that we're following exactly what the guideline is. And we were constantly getting emails daily because, a new rule change, and not just trying to follow up to keep up. And sometimes it's just so confusing, it was not clear at all. So when the pandemic actually started, we started to get harassing calls. There were calls coming in making racist sounds, like, hey, ching chong, whatever, like that. And there were even a call that was asking if we sold bat soup in our menu. So, and then when the mandate masks were asked our customers to wear, there were customers who were not happy and refused to wear masks because the mandatory mask wearing is not set as a law or something. So they're like, they don't have to wear it. And they also said that why should we wear the mask when it was our fault, saying that it was us that brought the pandemic over. And we even had a family that came in, again, refusing to wear the mask, telling us that COVID is fake and that President Trump would get all of our asses out of this country. So things like that happened to us. We just, I was just raged and upset and fear at the same time, especially with the recent all the stories that you hear about attacking Asians and businesses like that. Because currently right now is my sister and I, my mom, and we just everywhere we go, we just make sure that we're always together, watch what we're doing and things like that. But I feel like if there was like a better um, really appreciate that President Biden signed the law into for the Asian hate into the law. But I feel like there's something that needs to be clear and more like strong, definite against people who are racist, are targeting like the vulnerables, the women, the elderly. That's been going around, and then that needs to be stronger, needs to be more effective. And we even had a business that was servicing our security system that refused to came to do our maintenance service because they asked if anybody at the restaurant that worked there has COVID, or if we, like we were infected or something. So I mean, pandemic of course affected everyone, all the businesses like that. So when there was PPP available, it was also at the same time a little bit confusing because rules were changing, the guidelines were changing, and we're very fortunate because I came here when I was 9 years old, so I was fine with the English part, but I feel like it was not a lot of resources was not given, especially with the language access, because I have a lot of friends who doesn't speak English really well, and they were having difficult time doing PPP because it was confusing, and there was not a lot of language available for them. So some of the business I also helped them with to apply for it. So on all these parts, I just hope that maybe we can have to learn from this experience to have a better prepare for. But yeah, so thank you so much.
Thank you so much. And I know we have several folks who are going to share some concerns and experiences. And I just want to touch on a couple of points that you raised, if I might, just to give you an update on what's happening to be supportive. So Senator Warnock and I have both sponsored legislation that's moving through the Senate right now that will designate someone at the Department of Justice specifically to work on hate crimes against Asian Americans, as well as to coordinate better with local law enforcement agencies to end hate crimes against Asian Americans. We've both sponsored this legislation. In fact, we voted yesterday afternoon to do what's called file cloture on it and move to proceed to vote on it. And we are hoping that we can get a bipartisan coalition, including enough Republicans, to pass that bill next week. So I want to give you that update, and I'll make sure that my team follows up with everybody on this call about what happens with that legislation, but we're pushing hard to pass that bill. And I'll give a longer update on PPP at the end of this call. But just two things I want to make sure everybody's aware of, and I'll repeat these later. One, I was a sponsor of a bill that we passed 3 weeks ago to extend the deadline for PPP applications through May. It originally would have closed at the end of March, but we were able to get that done. And in fact, Congresswoman Carolyn Bordeaux, who represents parts of Gwinnett and Forsyth County, was the lead sponsor in the House on that. So please make sure folks know that they can apply for PPP loans through May now because of the work that we did to extend that deadline. And if anyone has any questions about applying for PPP loans, they should contact my office. Second of all, on PPP, you noted the language barriers. And that's something that I'm going to get with my team on, because it's a great point. Since a lot of this is mediated by commercial banks, if the banks don't have the language capabilities, then I can understand completely why it'd be difficult, particularly for folks in immigrant communities, to access this loan program. And the third thing that I want to, just because I think it would be of particular interest in your case, that I want you to be aware of, and my office can help you access these resources. In the American Rescue Plan, the COVID-19 stimulus and relief bill, we passed nearly $29 billion for restaurants. It's the Restaurant Revitalization Fund. It is a new federal program for restaurant owners where there's 20 or fewer locations for the restaurant. And there are tax-free grants of up to $5 million per location. And a significant amount of the fund, in fact, $5 billion of it is set aside solely for restaurants that had gross receipts in 2019 of under $500,000. So we're making sure that even very small restaurants can access these resources. And again, for any assistance accessing these resources, please contact my office. I'm going to ask my staff to put in the chat for this meeting the contact information for my office. Thank you.
Thank you.
Great. And next up, we're going to have business owner Jane Yu speak about her experience in the pandemic as well as a restaurant owner.
Hello, Ms. Yu.
Hi, how are you? Starting my video now. Hi.
Hey, nice to see you.
Hey guys. So my name's Jane. We own Food Terminal, 2 locations of Food Terminal and 5 locations of Sweet Head Bakery and Cafe. Our first location is in Doraville here since 2012. I mean, I think our experience with COVID is probably similar as to most, small business owner here. Definitely was very, very difficult around April and May timeframe when it first hit. But I think, and talking to other local business owners, for the most part, if we adjusted quickly enough, we were able to, luckily enough, we were able to, I guess, maintain our sales. One of the most important thing that's really helped us out is the PPP. The first round, the second round had really helped us to keep our employees afloat and help us with costs and the sudden loss of income. For the most part, up to date, our sales are definitely still down collectively, but it has been, but it's a new market, so we do what we can. One of the few things is a mask mandate that we have definitely seen change since, I guess it was like 2 weeks ago when the state mask mandate expired. That we started seeing in our restaurants a few more instances of customers unwilling to put on masks because a lot of the state level legislation has been rolled back. But and we were honestly lucky to have City of Chambly and City of Doraville that we still have local mask mandate. So that's something that we've been using a lot to tell our customer that it's really that the city does require us, at least to this point, that we still have the mask mandate. And especially since vaccine is coming back out, we're hoping that we're taking this time to at least get our staff vaccinated, and it takes a while for it to be fully vaccinated. And yeah, we'll just do what we can. But hopefully once everything mask mandate and the local government mask mandate expires, then I think maybe we're ready for a new chapter of post-COVID life. One of the question I had for you, Senator, is do you know anything about when the the RRF program is actually going to be accepting application? Because as far as I know, I believe it passed the Congress almost 2 months ago, but SBA is not yet taking applications, and there has not been a date nor really any specific time frame.
Jane, I will have my office follow up with you by the end of the day today after we place a call to SBA to get an updated date. We have been urging SBA to open up the application window as soon as possible. I know there were some administrative steps they needed to take to get it ready after the president signed the bill. So my team will get you an update by close of business today, whether it's a specific date or a range when those funds will be available for application.
Okay, no, that'd be great. And also one of the things that I think we did notice as far as the PPP forgiveness process, it seems like a lot of local banks right now are having, I guess, trouble finding the time to process a lot of the forgiveness application as well. So, I mean, that's just a comment. I don't really have anything we need to do. And that's something that I'll work with my local bank, of course, but just a comment that I think we have noticed that a lot of local banks are having a lot of trouble processing these forgiveness applications.
Okay, that's noted, and I'm going to refer that as well to my state office staff who are on this call. we have relationships with a lot of large and small commercial banks and credit unions, and that's part of how we can help people access the PPP program, is helping to connect them with banks who have the capacity to do so. So I'll have them follow up with you on that, Jane, as well, if we have any update on steps that are being taken to relieve some of that workload for some of the banks that are overtaxed by applications for the relief.
Sounds good.
Thank you very much.
Of course, thank you.
Thank you, Senator. I believe we have a few pre-submitted questions. A couple I came up with, a couple were pre-submitted by some audience members. So to have the time, I'd like to run through a couple of those questions with you. So one of the questions is, what would you do, Senator, to protect the Georgia film industry in the wake of the voting restrictions to come out of the General Assembly and some of the boycotts, across different industries that have struck Georgia? And being that Doraville, the film industry, is quite important to this community with recent sale of the old GM assembly site that's going to be media focused. Just wanted to hear your thoughts on that.
Thank you. Well, I've been very clear in my discussions with business leaders and in my public comments that we want business leaders to speak out in defense of democracy and voting rights. And they're going to be much better able to do that persuasively if they're still doing business in and investing in Georgia. I don't support any boycott of our state. I don't think it's a constructive way to make the change that we need to see. Those business leaders, however, should be very clear in their public comments that the recent voting law, which was passed, which is politicizing the administration of elections and restricting access to the ballot, is unacceptable and contrary to basic American values. Another note that I want to make on the film industry in Georgia is we're working closely with productions that are ongoing and planned here in Georgia to try to make sure that travel restrictions don't unduly prevent crew who in some cases actually need to come from around the world to enter the United States and come and work in Georgia so that those productions can proceed. And I know that's a particular interest in Doraville because of the number of scheduled productions over the next 18 months.
Thanks, Senator. Another question is, will a potential infrastructure package that is passed by Congress and signed into law by President Biden, would it aid a smaller city like Doraville with road repairs, bridges, sidewalks, things in that nature?
Yes, it absolutely will. And if Greg Bluestein from the AJC is with us on this call, I think that the news from today is that I am urging small business owners in Georgia to join me in advocating for passage of an ambitious infrastructure bill. This infrastructure bill will help to revitalize critical infrastructure, build new transit and transportation infrastructure, and it'll provide resources not just at the state level, but also at the local level. The American Rescue Plan, again, the COVID-19 stimulus bill that we passed about a month and a half ago, and which we only passed because we had the votes in the Senate thanks to Georgia voters who sent me and Senator Warnock to represent them, was different from the CARES Act in that it provided direct funding to localities with less than 500,000 residents. So the federal support for state and local governments in the CARES Act was restricted to the state and then counties and municipalities with 500,000 residents or more. But I helped lead the charge in the Senate to change that so that smaller localities also received direct funding. And I'll be taking the same approach with the upcoming infrastructure bills to ensure that resources are going, yes, of course, to the state of Georgia and to the major cities and the major development authorities and transit authorities, but also directly to smaller municipalities and counties and localities who have urgent infrastructure needs. And those infrastructure dollars are going to help support small businesses too, make it easier to get around, make it easier for folks to access local businesses and engage in commerce and attract more private investment to our state as well.
Lance, could I jump in really quickly? And Senator, I'm sorry that I missed you during my my introduction, but I just want to say thank you for that advocacy for the kind of federal infrastructure package. and for your advocacy for smaller cities to make sure that we aren't left out in that big push for dollars, because a lot of times, you know, it all goes to the MPOs like ARC or to the counties or other organizations that then, you know, kind of trickles to Doraville or really funds very little in terms of actual infrastructure in our city. And I think that we can handle more if, you know, if we're allowed to partner with the federal government on those things. The only other thing that I would just really like to advocate for you guys to consider when you're working on these infrastructure packages, and I think this will also be good for business, is when considering your transportation bills to look at the you know, different forms of modality or mobility. You know, if you're a lot of times highway funds just go to highways, but maybe there's a higher priority to the funding if there's also a transit or a bike lane or a walking path component to that project, so that we can try to encourage more ways of getting people around our metro areas than just driving in cars. And hopefully by building those connections, we will also be able to strengthen the connections that our businesses have and the ways people can get to work also, because I think sometimes that's a big challenge for you know, like someone who lives south of I-20 having to get up to Dunwoody. Sometimes it can be very difficult. So we really appreciate you being here, and I appreciate you focusing on those issues that will ensure that we can also build back better in our local communities.
Thank you, Mayor. My pleasure, and fully agree with you on the importance of multimodal transportation and transit. In fact, we had a hearing in the banking committee yesterday. I'm on the banking committee, which has jurisdiction over transit. And I was discussing with the witnesses, of course, rail extensions, which are going to be necessary for Metro Atlanta, bus rapid transit, and its potential to really increase service and accessibility, not just in Metro Atlanta, but in municipal areas and in rural areas across the state. Electric vehicle technology and autonomous vehicle technology, micro transit projects. The city of Valdosta has some very exciting plans on that front. So will there be resources for traditional surface transportation and roads and bridges and highways? Yes, there will. And I'm committed to making sure that the infrastructure bill is even more ambitious, with significant investments in transit, generational investments in transit, as well as clean energy. An opportunity to upgrade our quality of life and invest in our infrastructure like this only comes around once a generation. And so we need to be thinking creatively about how we can give our people more solutions, more affordable access to get around, because the gridlock in Metro Atlanta and across the state's untenable. It's bad for business, it's bad for health, it's bad for our quality of life.
Thank you.
Thanks, Senator. I know that you have some time constraints, and we're going to open it up to some Q&A, but I want to be cognizant of that. And I know, Senator, you wanted to hit on some of the things about like applying for some of the federal loans that have been available. And you know, if there's sparse time, I want to make sure our business owners are able to hear that.
Well, I'm sorry we don't have more time, but this has been a great conversation. Thank you again, Mayor, for bringing us together, and thanks to all the small business leaders who are here with us. And just to recap a few of these key points, the most important thing I want to communicate is that my office is here to help, and I'm here to serve. And so when you are applying for help from the SBA, when you're working through getting PPP support, again, we just extended that application deadline through May. If you're a restaurant owner applying for restaurant revitalization fund support, even if you're not having any issues, please contact my office and let us know, because we nevertheless can likely help expedite the consideration of your application and be supportive to make sure that your business gets the help that it needs as fast and as smoothly as possible. I already talked through some of the work that we've done to increase opportunities for small businesses to get help. We added $7.5 billion to PPP in the stimulus, extended the deadline through May, $28 billion for restaurants. That's on top, by the way, of course, all the direct economic support going to households, the stimulus checks and the child tax credits. And that money is going to largely be spent in the community and in small businesses, rather than trickling down through bank subsidies or tax cuts for ultra high net worth people and Fortune 500 corporations. Our approach in the stimulus bill was to get resources directly to working families, and they'll spend that money in local communities and at local small businesses. I also just want to note that the legislation delivered more than $4 billion for public education in Georgia, including over $1 billion for Metro Atlanta public schools to safely reopen. And I hope that that will be of great use to your communities and to your families in the months ahead. It's an honor to serve you. And as always, reach out to me or my office if I can be of any help. I've made some specific notes on points that we're going to follow up on about the RRF SBA deadline today, and I'll make sure to get everyone an update on the hate crimes legislation that should be on the Senate floor next week. Thank you all and have a great day.
Thank you so much for your time, Senator. This was great, and I know our business owners really appreciate it. And yeah, just thank you for taking this time.
Oh, you know, and I should, one thing I wanted to mention, this is just an aside. My great grandparents came to the United States as immigrants in 1911 and 1913, and they came here with nothing, and they wound up starting Ossoff's Auto Service in Peabody, Massachusetts. In the late 19-teens, a small business, immigrants who arrived in this country fleeing persecution and hardship with a dream. And so my family's story in America really begins with immigrants starting small businesses. And my mother is a first-generation immigrant, and she came here and also started a small business here in Georgia and went on to naturalize and become a US citizen. So for all of the immigrant small business owners on the line, and I know that there are so many in and around Doraville, much love and respect to you. And you know, my family's story in some ways tracks with yours. Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you, Senator.
Thanks, Senator. Thank you for your time. And I will be, I heard from the Senator's staff, and I will be sharing his office and state contact information for all those who are interested and want to make inquiries to the Senator. I'll be sending that email out after we're done here.
Lance, did you want to give people a chance to, if they have any other comments they would like to make that we could share with the
Sure.
Senator's team?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm just going to open it up. If people could use the raise hand function, and I can pull you in and ask any questions and try to relay that to the Ossoff team. Yes, Rita, I think you raised your hand.
Okay. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, ma'am, we can.
Okay. Thank you so much for the opportunity to be participating in this Zoom calling. And my question was, if the federal state still pays the unemployment, we won't have more people to be working. So my concern is, if we can mandate the what President Biden talked about, the minimum wage to be $15, and if we can start increasing job opportunities so we can, encourage people to work instead of letting the federal government stay on paying the unemployment. This way, like you mentioned about the infrastructure, and maybe this will create more jobs for the people to work, and this way we can mandate the $15 minimum wage, so we do not lose our already co-workers to go and work somewhere else. Is there a possibility to mandate the small businesses or I mean, I hear about big businesses starting with giving them $15 minimum wage. I don't know if this is a question for the federal government, and also if we stay on mandating the mask, so regardless of the people getting the vaccine, we could stay safe and go to work and overcome this pandemic as quickly as we can.
I think we'll take those notes and share them with the senator's team, Ms. Ghali. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
You.
Is there anyone else who would like to say something before we wrap up?
Yes, let's see. All right, I believe it's Jennifer raised her hand.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am, we can.
Great. Thank you, Mayor Geierman, for putting this together. It was very enlightening. I'm the owner of a pet store in Doraville, the Paw Stand, along with Donna Rainey, who's the other owner. And the local mask mandate that y'all passed in City Hall was very helpful for us initially, getting our customers on board with wearing a mask when they would come into our store. But now with people getting vaccinated, there seems to be a lapse in education of folks understanding that just because they've been vaccinated, they seem to have a false sense of security. And now they want to come into our business without a mask. And we provide them with disposable masks and let them know that that's it's a local city ordinance still, even though it's been lifted in the state. But people don't seem to understand that the vaccine is to keep you from being hospitalized or dying, but you can still get the virus and you can still spread it. It seems that there's a lapse in education for people to really understand what the vaccine is, the purpose.
Thank you. Is there any particular policy you'd like to see from the federal government?
I mean, I would like the federal government to follow the CDC guidelines and just maybe put more education out there as well for people to understand that just because you've had both vaccinations doesn't mean that you can just go back to life as normal, that we still have to try to protect one another and not put people at risk, especially people with insufficient immune systems and the elderly. I just think that people feel like they have kind of a free pass after they get vaccinated to just go back to life as it was pre-COVID. But I'd like to see the federal government, maybe along with the CDC, put more out there to educate people about what the vaccination, and maybe it's just that people are, believing what they want to believe, that they're just not paying attention to what the federal government's telling us and what the CDC guidelines are with the vaccinations.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Thanks.
Anyone else? Well, we appreciate everyone who came out, and certainly appreciate the senator for participating. Lance, thank you for setting this up. I know you did a lot of work behind the scenes to coordinate everything, and we appreciate that opportunity and are looking forward to future business forums, hopefully some that will be in person in the coming months. And I'll hand it back to you to wrap us up and close us out.
Thanks, Mayor. Yes, again, thanks to the Ossoff team for participating in this forum today. This was great. And thank you to all of our business owners who participated today. I know it's a lot to ask y'all to take close to an hour out of your busy work schedules to do this. So it's very much appreciated. As the city's economic development director, please know that my door is always open. Please feel free to reach out to me. I'll be sure to distribute my contact information to everybody that's on this call, as well as the senator's office. If you ever have any questions, any way that I can try to help businesses in Doraville, that's my job, and I want to be there to help. And if I can't answer a question, I'll try to find an answer for you. So with that, just thank you, everybody, and hope you have a good weekend.